Whatever question comes up, you kind of. So. We're gonna start with. We're gonna make it fun. We're not gonna be totally official. It'll be official, but not.
Actually, it's this.
Rebecca, I'm gonna vote on the outside.
It's been.
Just like it's spelled.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier if the elder capitalized. I think education has been anything.
I'm gonna.
That's not here. It's just candidates, there's not one. So this is just literally only to be candidates for the community and everybody is here. And we are gonna start with Jason. We'll go around the table, introduce yourself, there's 3 questions, I believe.
Yeah, we're just really for the first round, for everyone gets the same set name, how long have they fish off, what the profession is, and, I think I've got the service areas on, click on the sheet, is that correct?
Yeah, very,
Okay.
very professional and scripted.
Yeah, and then 5 words to describe yourself.
And I'm
So Jason, I know you're the first one, she deemed it, so
Put me on the spot, okay.
we'll give you an extra.
There you go. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Jason McHugh. I've lived in Fishhawk and Yokes for about 7 or 8 years. I'm an airline pilot and an Air Force officer. 5 words to describe myself.
That's 3.
I try to be considerate, empathetic, decisive, honest, and relaxed.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't get to the 5 words yet. I only got 1 down.
We all can ask these 5 words after you're elected, how you feel at that time.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kathy Mercer. I've lived here in December, will be 3 years. I live in the Westlake area with my son-in-law and daughter. We got a multi-generational house. I am retired, but I do work part-time for the same company my daughter does, doing their procurement. So, semi-retired, whatever you want to say. 5 words. Okay. It's gonna be difficult. Friendly, outgoing. Oh, I have to come up with a word.
Close your eyes and think yourself. Close your eyes, think yourself.
Is it 5 max?
Yeah, I was gonna say phrases, right?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Contract, not to exceed by.
About hyphenated words.
Yeah, exactly. Cause I was gonna say,
Responsible,
what?
responsible.
Responsible.
I'm trying to help.
Okay, responsible.
I gave you that. It's 5 max.
Oh, 5 max, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome, man.
I will turn it over to you.
That's so gracious.
Oh, gracious, there.
There. I'll take that as an assist. My name is April Ducote. I have been in Fishhawk West since 2014. I did leave and rent the house for a few years because I'm active duty Air Force and came back last summer. My profession, obviously active duty Air Force, I'm a cyber officer. So, you know, hackers and computers and networks and such. I'm sorry?
So don't mind.
Oh, mine, right? But also dealt with quite a bit of contracts. Unique within the cyber career field. 5 words. I'm transparent. As in, not political, I don't want that to count, but a transparent person. I'm a critical thinker. fiscally conservative. I believe in balanced budgets, so on and so forth. I'm also very adventurous. And then, a mother.
For me, I'm Michael McMahon. I lived in Fish Hawk a little longer than April. I moved in early, mid 2014. We were the fourth to go to contract, seventh to move in. That part of the neighborhood looked like Kansas when we moved in. We consider Sea Preserve. Anyhow, we've been here full time. I was an active duty Air Force officer when we came here, but I retired here. Worked as a civilian for a while. I'm currently a senior fellow at the Irregular Warfare Center, which is I'm a visiting fellow, senior fellow. It's a think tank that Congress put together for the Department of Defense, looking at irregular warfare. I work here. I just travel to see them. I'm in the master just down the block here by the park, and 5 words. So I was going to go with just one: professional, but I'll then say service focused and family centric. So they're hyphenated, but that's what 5 words.
Well, I'm John Lovingood. You already know me. I was on the startup of the security committee a few months back. And I've been living in Fish Hawk now. Actually, this month will be my 2-year mark. Lived in multiple places, grew up in the Cayman Islands for 30 years, moved to Tennessee for 10, and now I'm here and we established ourselves. We're really enjoying the neighborhood. I've been working for Deloitte, doing consulting on IT and cyberspace as well for now 20 years. So I don't have to mention anything more about consulting, but that keeps me tied up as well. 5 things or 5 words about me. I'd say I have to write them down, but very approachable. I'm one to open to new ideas, to change things that I feel need changing. That's better for all, not just self-conflict of interest. Optimistic about what this neighborhood has potential to become and do. And I carry a lot of integrity.
That was 15.
So
Keywords.
Yeah, I long into the mind.
Hi, I'm Kevin Schmidt. My wife and my twin 14-year-olds have been living here for a little over 5 years. We live in the Oaks. It's an amazing neighborhood. Originally from Chicago. Let's see. I am the national sales manager for a television station here in town. So I put commercials on the air and help everybody get up during their favorite show, go to the bathroom. Maybe a little bit of a plumber in that aspect. 5 words that describe me: integrity, respect, hard work, family, absolutely family, and fun. Because if you aren't having fun, there ain't no point in doing what you're doing. That's it. On to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark. My family and I, my wife, my daughter and I moved to Fish Hawk in 2018. We've been here for about 5 years. I retired from the Marine Corps just 3 months ago after serving for 20 years. And when we moved to Fish Hawk, you know, being in the military, you realize you move around a lot. You live in a lot of places, you live in a lot of bases. And when we moved here, we never felt the sense of community like we feel in Fish Hawk, which is why 2 years ago, I decided to run for the board. With no expectation of being a president or a vice president or anything of that nature, I just wanted to help and serve my community. So I served for vice president for about 2 years on the board. And now that I'm retired, I'm working for a small company called Raytheon. They make defense type things. And yeah, I'm just very happy to be a resident here. My 5 words, I would say, commitment to country, community, family. Commitment no matter what it takes. Put the commitment for it and everything else follows. On to you, man.
Thank you. I'm Rebecca Van Landingham. I've lived in Fish Hawk West about 9 years, which is 9 years in August. We moved in, it was a field here, so it's definitely grown and I'm super excited to be a part of this community and feel like it's been a fantastic place for my family and my children to grow up. I'm an HR professional. I've worked in HR over 20 years, working in large, global organizations. And I'd say, I think all of the adjectives I put down have already been said, so I don't want to seem too duplicative, but I think, I'm a very driven person, very trustworthy, kind, and I hold honesty above everything else. So it's probably a good way to describe it. So,
Well, I'm John Deere. My wife and I moved here about 6 years ago, and I'm a CPA. A lot of people say that stands for constant pain in the area. And yeah. So basically, I'm almost retired. I'm down to this is my last tax season, but I still do some consulting for TurboTax. Do a little part-time with it in the tax season. Well, those of you who use TurboTax, I answer your questions if you want. I've been active in the community pretty much since we got here. I got picked to help with the initial financial board for Encore. And I served 2 to 3 years on that as the chairman. And then ran for this job. I've been here for 2 years. And current to that, I also got elected to the Encore board for the last 2 years. I've been working on both of the boards. I think it's a lot to do, but hopefully I've made it all the way through without too many mistakes. I really would describe myself as compassionate, warm. Family is important to me, although a lot of them are far away. I just adopted a little puppy, and so I have a new member of the family to be my family. I tend to be somewhat exacting, but flexible in how you apply the accounting rules. I came along at a time when accounting was considered an art, and so I believe that every time we're looking at things, that we're coming up with something that makes sense to people. So,
Five words.
I'm going to say,
Yes.
artist, compassionate. I care about all the neighbors and my family. I'm pretty much of a technician. Sort of have to be in my business. I really believe that we can do a lot here. That there's a lot of opportunity here, and I've been enjoying working for both Encore and Fisher Branch West, and the people that I've met over the years. So, to a certain extent, I'm friendly as well.
Okay, Patty's in charge here with the emceeing, but I'm gonna just quickly explain how this little program that I wrote works. 2 years ago, when we had the election, we polled on Facebook, a random amount of questions, and everybody who wanted to submit one, and we put them into a database. There are 33 questions in the database to be asked to each of you, not individually, you don't have to answer all 33. But the random generator that did just basically assigns a number which you just threw from an envelope. It'll ask the candidate number and you'll speak up and have 2 minutes to answer the question. We'll answer 3 questions before the evening's over. There's a timer, it will go off and make a lot of noise and we have notches because I did that for fun. But the reality is that most everyone has plenty of time in 2 minutes, so it's a lot. Then we'll open things to the floor, and then we'll be Patty's job at that time. So all I'm going to do is start the questions, and are you willing to read them? Because I turned off the computer voice. So
Is there anybody in the audience that wants to read the questions out loud? Somebody want to have some fun?
lots of hands.
Too funny? But
Make sure that we,
can't hear.
it's not each other.
Right.
Thank you.
Tommy, you raise your hand?
I'll do it. That's, no problem, up on the screen and of course, there, we can see, so.
Right, well, we gotta have the first person, so we're.
Well, when it started, it'll announce who the first person is. Okay.
If you had Mickey Mouse's voice in there.
I took that out. Anyway, this,
Mr. T maybe?
Exactly. Each one have each question have a different voice.
That'd be great.
Right.
okay, well, we can get started and
Candidate 9, question 11 is for you.
Number 9, I am. April, here we go. Rebecca.
Why?
Rebecca, why do you want to serve as an HOA director?
Because I love this community and I believe that as a, as a community, we can really make this a great place to stay, for our future and the future families that will live here. So this is a place that I've seen grow from literally a field, and I've met some of the best friends I've ever had in my life in this community, and that sense of community is really important to me. It's become an important part of my life, so I'd love to be able to help preserve that for others.
Thank you, candidate 9. You completed your answer in 36 seconds.
Yes.
There's no bonus points for sure.
The points are over the longer answer is more concise, who knows, huh?
Candidate 8, question 31 is for you.
And it's a 8.
John, how important do you feel that the current amenities value the community?
I feel that they're very important, overall for not just kids, for adults to, enjoy the neighborhood. That was one of the key attractions to us, not just the school being in a great school zone for my daughter, but having an option to come out to the lake house, to come out to the pool, make sure we establish, better fixtures around the area, different ideas to approach for the pool, because I know that's been a problem. Other things such as the basketball court, just giving more to the community to do here, as opposed to feeling like they have to leave to go have fun somewhere else, because it's quite a decent sized neighborhood. It might not be as big as some of the other ones surroundings, but I feel it has enough to offer and potential to add more to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 8. You completed your answer in 49 seconds. Candidate 2, question 24 is for you.
Who do we have for 2?
Oh,
Hi, John. What do you think about the current rules, policies in place?
Oh. Well, I had a hand in a lot of, so, but I feel like that, as John, this needs to be a place that people can enjoy living here. So, to a certain extent, we need rules to set the boundaries of what we expect the community to be. But there are times when, people should have the opportunity to speak up and, help us to understand and change the rules and how they're applied. So, the current rules, I think, are okay, but they can always be worked on.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, candidate 2. You completed your answer in 47 seconds. Candidate 5, question 9 is for you.
Hello, Matt. Are you able to volunteer your skill or labor to the HOA or community related tasks?
Assuming there are skills and labor that I have, the answer is yes. And in fact, I think we've done that within my skills and capabilities, or more technically competent people sitting around the room. So I bring breakfast. So, but yes, I do believe that as a member, you should. And so, but this is a volunteer position, and people all have responsibilities as you go around and met everybody. So the skill sets are there, but the demands on these folks are also high. So we have to balance that. We have to be realistic in what we can ask the board to do in this kind of situation. But the answer is yes. I think I have skill sets to bring. Run organizations, manage budgets, develop policies, then those are the things we do.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, candidate 5. You completed your answer in 53 seconds. Candidate 3, question 28 is for you.
All right, Kevin, what do you believe to be the greatest challenge to our community at the present time?
That's a good question. Can you guys hear me in the back? Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. The greatest challenge to our community, I think if you look at some of the social media that goes on and goes out, I think it's really easy to be really critical and maybe mean is the right word for some of these folks. To kind of, realize that the people who are doing the events and the people who are volunteering and the board members, everybody are doing the best that they can. They're trying to make this a better place. And while criticism is always welcome, it should be constructive criticism. And I think in the age of social media, it's really easy to be really cruddy and hide behind that. So if we want to come together as a community, because I think this is an amazing community with a lot of really good people, and sometimes a few bad actors can kind of spoil the mix. So I think my challenge to the community would be to be respectful, be kind, and always come from a position of thinking that the other person's intentions are always good. Because when you change that thinking, you can change your perspective and maybe give the benefit of the doubt to all the people who are trying to make this a better place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 3. You completed your answer in 82 seconds. Candidate 1, question 4 is for you.
Jason, what prompted you to become a candidate for the director's role?
Let's see, I like the community, I like what we do, what we have here, I think it's a great place to live. I think there's opportunities to always improve and do better. I think I have the capacity to help that process, I'm good at looking at things, finding those ways to be better, and then leading people in that process. I also feel like it's unfair for any of us to criticize the volunteers sitting in place unless we're willing to stand up and take volunteer to help ourselves. So that's what I'm doing, I'm backing up my words there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 1. You completed your answer in 30 seconds. Candidate 4, question 26 is for you.
We have 4. Again,
Hi, Tom.
when contractors such as handyman or landscapers cause damage to common area property, is it the board's responsibility to collect the damages from the contractor?
Absolutely.
That question is for you.
Just for me. I was gonna say, that was a slam dunk. No, since my background is in government contracts, I would definitely have that written into the contracts that we have signed as a board. And it would definitely be something that we would need to have the contractors responsible for any damage that they do to our community. So, short answer, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good one to come back. Tommy.
I
I know.
Candidate 4, you completed your answer in 30 seconds. Candidate 8, question 14 is for you.
John, do you feel you are personally in full compliance with all HOA rules?
Yes. Along with compliance, that's what I work in right now, so I have to be very careful in what I do in a personal life and a professional life. For instance, I asked Patty tonight to make sure if I could have a plan outside that was above ground and not in ground. So I do take consideration into those things to make sure if I'm elected, I'm also abiding by the rules and not breaking the rules personally. I think that's a huge responsibility because that also shows that you're also invested in policies that we set, that you're also abiding by those. Doesn't matter what it is, speeding through the roads, garbage collections, parents around the house, and just overall, safety and concerns for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. You completed your answer in 52 seconds. Candidate six, question 23 is for you.
6.
Hello, April. What is your evaluation of the current condition of the HOA amenities?
I do believe that there has been some issues with upkeep, right? The pool cleanliness, and the playground equipment, right, being broken. We did get some new gym equipment, which is beautiful, and appreciated. But there's some other parts of the community that are starting to show that wear and tear. And so, people who work out, myself included, that's not the only amenity I use here. So I would definitely like to make sure that we don't forget the upkeep and maintenance of the community as a whole, not just for myself, not just for my children, but for other people around the neighborhood, people who walk their dogs. The sidewalks need to be safe, right? So I do believe we have some work to do in that area. I think contracts and doing them wisely would definitely help. So look forward to your expertise, whether we're all here together or not. But I believe we have some work to do, and the more they're going to get used, the more they're going to need upkeep. But we want them to be used, so we need to make sure our folks are safe, and that our amenities are there for everyone.
Thank you, candidate six. You completed your answer in 80 seconds.
Candidate.
They like you. But this is your third, you're done after this.
Go after this.
Hey, John, how would your friends or colleagues describe you?
That's a lot of people to ask, but in general, I've had no bad complaints about me from a professional perspective since I've started the firm. I was poached by Deloitte by a friend of mine who begged me to stay on. Personal $1 billion client that wanted me to leave the island to come to the US because of the services that I provide them. But they would say I'm always available to help. I just got work calling for me right now, but I'm gonna wait until after I've done this meeting. So I'm very approachable, very knowledgeable in the areas that I've been in with the firm. So that would be my goal too, is to get more involved in more of the policies and procedures here within the HOA and understand a little bit more than just see what's on the face value. So.
Thank you, candidate. You completed your answer in 54 seconds. Candidate two, question 5 is for you.
Hi, John. When your time comes to an end as director, what do you hope to have accomplished?
Well, it may be coming too short. But, my goal in all of the public service I've been over the years working at Kiwanis and working for a number of organizations throughout my life has always been to try and leave where I've been in a better place. And so I would hope that when my time as a director is up, that my contribution is help to move the HOA farther along and just have a good place for people to pick it up.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, candidate two. You completed your answer in 43 seconds. Candidate 7, question 10 is for you.
Got me, Mark. You
Mark.
looked excited.
That's right.
Mark, are there any expenses incurred that you feel are unnecessary? If so, where can we direct those funds?
Yeah, Mark.
Expenses incurred that are unnecessary. No, I think that for the past 2 years, we have done a really good job of controlling where we spend our money. For the first year, we were recovering from the management practices of previous management, we'll call it situations, and we had to be really tight. There was a point at the end of the year where we couldn't even buy toilet paper. But dadgummit, we were going to stay on budget. We were not going to incur more debt. So that took about a year, maybe 12, 14, 16 months to get on track. Then for the next year, we spent time getting ahead. And you still can't go buck wild with the spending, right? We finally reached a point now, I think, where we can start flying. We're getting some things done in the neighborhood. We've hired professional staff. We're going to bring some more on. Every dollar that this board has spent, every dollar that this HOA spends is well placed in this. We finished the year here with a little bit of extra money. And so the neighborhood should expect to see some improvements in some areas like the pool. Get some landscaping done there. We have some other projects, but it's just begun. Next year, the next year, whatever board takes over next year is going to be really well set up from not only our board, but the people that came before us. Every time, like John said, they leave it better and better and better. And it's because the people in this room, I want to express my gratitude to Sean, our treasurer, Patty and Jennifer, our professional management staff, and the rest of the board members, and some that couldn't be here tonight. Will, I'd like everybody to remember that Will is a candidate, as is Bert, and both of them could not be here tonight, but they're very upstanding citizens in this community. But unfortunately, they just had work events that they could not escape. With that, I yield back my time.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 7. You completed your answer in 115 seconds. Question 25 is for you.
What number?
Rebecca, do you think the board should be accountable to the homeowners when they are off budget?
Yes, I do. I think as board members, I think it's our responsibility to manage the budget. Understanding that, sometimes you're walking into things that you don't expect. But I do think that we have an accountability to the community, and to be fiscally responsible with the money that we're asking you to put into the pot, and we're spending it on things that matter to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 9. You completed your answer in 29 seconds. Candidate 5, question 18 is for you.
Matt, in what way can you enhance the board's team and working skills?
Okay, well, I think one of the things, both from a professional background and as an Air Force officer, but also as a business executive, and even being an intelligence officer, I've been trained to look at situations from multiple directions. And so I think I am able to look at places and situations where compromise might be reached. Because I do have an ability, I believe, to see that and analyze a problem and be able to break it down and see what we can do, what we can't do. So in that case, I think the working skills would be as a communicator and a facilitator.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 5. You completed your answer in 46 seconds. Candidate 3, question 1 is for you.
Kevin, what are your goals while serving as a director?
My goals are to serve, plain and simple, in whatever capacity that means. So however I can make this board achieve the goals that they have, both financially and for the community. And to listen, right? Listen to the community, bring their concerns to the board, and then make sure that everybody has a voice. In doing that, I think when everybody is heard or feels that they're heard, I think that some of the chatter that we've had earlier will go away. And I think that we can make this a better place now than it was when we started. And that's the whole goal. Leave something, as John has said, leave it better at the end of what I've done than when I came here at the beginning.
Thank you, candidate 3. You completed your answer in 52 seconds. Candidate 2, question 3 is for you.
And yeah. What added talent or skill might you bring to the HOA board?
Well, obviously, my best skill is my accounting. So I've been doing it for a long time. And I've been doing it both in public and private. I worked for a big 8 firm in my earlier years, and I've had my own account for 10 or 20 years now as well. So I think that directly that talent is something that I can apply in the appropriate spot. I also think that my experience psychologically over the years has grown so that I think there's an aspect of being a financial practitioner, that you have to listen to what people are saying. You have to measure how things are going and hopefully make a good interpretation of what you're hearing and how to apply them. And in the past, I have had people say that I do a pretty good job at that. So I think that listening and understanding and saying back to people what it is that they feel like they need to do. So I do that was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 2. You completed your answer in 76 seconds. Candidate 5, question 29 is for you.
It's Matt. Matt, what is your ideal vision of this community?
Interesting. I guess, simply put, it would be that people are happy here. And enjoy living here. And that's a broad answer to a broad question, right? Because what makes people happy and what makes them want to be here is pretty diverse. And we have a diverse community. And so that is a challenge to how do we build facilities that will address what everybody or what different subsections do. And as April said, you know, the gym redo was well done, but you're right, the pool, it does need some work. One of the other things that's a challenge for us also is, and a lot of people don't realize, the HOA only controls a certain amount of space. Most of this open space and public space here is controlled by the CDD. So for us to expand facilities and expand opportunities, it's a challenge because we don't actually own or control the territory. So the ideal vision would, everybody's happy, everybody has something they enjoy. And then therefore it's a happy place and it's a good community. I think the foundation's there and I think it's likely to continue.
Thank you, candidate 5. You completed your answer in 79 seconds. Candidate 9, question 7 is for you.
That was 9, yeah, so.
Rebecca, how much time can you buy?
So, working full time and having 2 teenage boys, sometimes, you know, time can be a challenge, but, you know, I'm here because I feel like it's an important part of my life and something that I would like to support. So I would be able to dedicate, you know, at least several hours a month and, you know, during certain times where it's needed, I'll be able to do more, and where certain times it's less, I'll be able to do less. So, that's my goal, is to be able to support the community in what it needs.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 9. You completed your answer in 34 seconds. Candidate 7, question 33 is for you.
Yes.
Mark, who and or what governs HOAs in Florida?
Well, do you want the technical answer or from the heart answer? Right, so the technical answer is Florida Statute 720. That governs everything how HOAs are ran in the state. Beneath that, you have the charter, and then beneath that, you have the bylaws. And then beneath that, you have in our particular HOA, which is rather unique in the state, we have service areas, and we have the service area bylaws. That's the technical answer, right? But who really governs our HOA is the people. Right? When people reach out and they voice their opinions on Facebook, or they send us emails, or they're unhappy with something, that drives what direction that the board should take the HOA in. Most of the time. You know, I spoke in the beginning about commitment. The board has a commitment to the community overall. And sometimes that commitment means that 2 or 3 people are not going to be happy. And if you make it on the board, you will hear from them. You will hear from those people that aren't happy. But yes, There's lots of different things that tug on your time and your decisions as a board member, and ultimately, it comes down to your judgment and what you think is the best possible answer to do for our community.
Thank you, candidate 7, you completed your answer in 80 seconds. Candidate 1, question 13 is for you.
Jason, have you read and understand the governing documents? If so, what might you change?
I've read through the bylaws, I haven't read them cover to cover, I haven't the community standards. I think the standards are good, they keep our property values high, they keep the community looking nice, I think there are some opportunities to change things. I think potentially we could allow, some kind of landscaping options, but having to go through a whole architectural review committee process that takes forever. I think if the community agrees, if the community decides on it, we could adjust those standards even more. But it's very important to listen to the feedback of the community. That's something I want to bring if I sit on the board, is listening to the community, giving them opportunities to be heard and not shutting them out at meetings or anywhere else. That's a very important thing to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 1, you completed your answer in 46 seconds. Candidate 6, question 30 is for you.
April, what improvements do you feel are important for 2024?
Well, we've talked about the upkeep and maintenance of some areas of the community that definitely need to be touched up on. I'm not tracking the remaining projects that the whole has already put together. From my perspective, I would really like to see additional social engagement. We were some of the first people here, and it was before the neighborhood had cliques. And as a military person, I've lived in several different neighborhoods. And when you move in and you're brand new, you can kind of figure out that there's groups of people who are already friends. But when we first got here in Fishhawk West, there was none of that. We were all wandering around during Halloween. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I have that dirt patch over there. And I look right at you where my house is built. I met a lot of the neighbors that way because we were all just trying to figure out who and what our community was going to be. And during that time frame, they would put on concerts and other, I think, community-wide events. We would all drag our carts and our chairs to the big field in front of the pool. We would dance and just enjoy each other's company. Cheers, right? Let the kids play. And I feel like we're missing some of that camaraderie, really and truly, that I haven't seen since I've been back, right? We see a lot that's going on Facebook. We know that there's events out there, but some of that camaraderie is missing. And I'd like to see that come back. And I think if we can do that in the community, then we can pull each other together. And then some of this bickering and some of this places where we're going to disagree, there's no way I have the exact same opinion as anybody else in this room about any of the bylaws or things that need to be changed, right? In the end, if we can come together as a community and enjoy each other's company,
Your time is up.
it'll be easier for us
Thank
to
you,
get over them.
candidate 6.
Jeez, that's feedback.
She gets paid by the minute.
Candidate 4, question 6 is for you.
I'm sorry, who was that for?
4.
Kathy, what are the top 3 issues you'd like to help change?
Oh, I know, that's right. No, I would like to piggyback on April's. One of the things I think, I also come from not being, I'm a military widow. And so I also come from the community of wanting to see Fishhawk West be more of a inclusive community. And when my family and I moved here, we kind of thought that that's what we were moving into. And I would love to see us build upon that. And we have a lot of military here. So I'm hoping that we can all, have more activities that are community wise. That's one. I also think I would like to continue as a director, I would also like to continue with our fiduciary responsibilities to our community on keeping on track with our budgets and being able to grow that pot of money that we have to be able to show our community that we are being responsible with our homeowners money. And 3, spruce up our lake house here. I still think we've got a ways to go. That would be my pet project, would be to see our community, our lake house would be spruced up.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 4, you completed your answer in 107 seconds. Candidate 6, question 32 is for you.
April, sorry. Approximately how many HOA meetings have you attended in the past year?
Well, I was with the finding committee, so if those count, that was like 2 meetings or so. We haven't been called together because we haven't had to, as I know of, find anybody in the neighborhood, which is great. But the last year's been really difficult for me. I was recovering after a severe medical trauma. So I wasn't able to get to as many meetings as I would have liked to. I was able to zoom in from home. Obviously, as a board member, I look forward to being in all of them. As a retiring military officer, I will have the ability not to have to work. And so I'll have a lot of time to dedicate towards the board and what we will accomplish.
Thank you, candidate 6, you completed your answer in 55 seconds. Candidate 1, question 15 is for you.
Jason, are you comfortable making hard decisions?
Put simply, yes. I have a whole methodology for that though. I want to understand the rules within which I'm operating. When I flew combat missions, you had your rules of engagement and your special instructions and your regulations and your tactics and everything. You had to know all of them. You had to make yourself an expert in that. And then you have to know your team. You have to know your team's capabilities, and you have to take their input. But then when it comes down to it, if you're in charge, it's very important to make a decision. And so that's what I do. I'm comfortable doing that. I've done that in very high pressure situations. This would be a somewhat lower pressure situation, and I think I'm very capable of doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidate 1, you completed your answer in 42 seconds. Candidate 3, question 19 is for you.
Kevin, what personally motivates you?
That's a long answer. What motivates me? My family. I think, you know, everybody or anybody who has a family that's core. So my family is my core and they motivate me for everything. I have twins who are 14 who went to Stowers and Barrington and they're at Newsom. So this community coming from Chicago where this doesn't exist, like this doesn't exist. It's amazing. And I live over in the Oaks next to this guy over here. And I'm amazed every day at the community in which we live. Everybody gets along. People say hi when you're walking on the walking trails. You walk your dog, you see people in the morning, everybody waves at each other. To make this place better than that, I mean, think about how good it could be. So for me to do that for my family and your families, that's an amazing thing to be able to do. Like if I had like won the lottery and could give like millions of dollars, I'd like a fishing pier out there. That's just selfish. I like to fish, but we could have fishing derbies. Think about it. No, I mean, it's really just giving back and making this better because we live here. So doing that for my family and your families, because I think at the end of the day, we really are all in this together. So that's my motivation.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, candidate 3, you completed your answer in 93 seconds. Candidate 7, question 16 is for you.
Yes, sir.
Can you commit to the requirements of the role you are seeking?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would tell you that the requirements of the role you are seeking, there's many, right? And the easiest thing to look at first is time. And one of the other questions was, how much time can you commit to the HOA? My answer to that question would be as much time as it takes. There are weeks where when you sit on this board, you will put in 20 hours, 30 hours a week to the HOA outside of the job, outside of normal commitments. And the more involved you get, the more those hours build up. Late nights reviewing contracts, reviewing documents, making changes, answering calls from our security guard, checking on him. He gets attacked by clowns at the pool. I don't know if you've seen this the past couple nights, literally people dressed as clowns infiltrated the pool, and our security guard, Luther, kicked him out. I called him immediately and said, Luther, are you okay? I know they threw some things at you, are you all right? And it's a commitment. Like I said, it's a commitment. So yes, I am committed to the requirements of the role I am seeking.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you, candidate 7. You completed your answer in 77 seconds. Candidate 4, question 21 is for you.
Yeah.
What one issue irritates you about non-compliant members?
Totally random on 20.
What irritates you about non-compliant?
Not 5 words. TikTok.
Okay. My one issue about non-compliant members has to do with the fact that some of our members don't understand the difference between an item that is budgeted for and something that is funded. Because when you have something that is budgeted, it is not necessarily funded. And if we vote to say, yes, we're going to spend that money and we don't have it, it's not fiduciarily responsible to our community members to spend that money that we do not have. And that is the one thing that I would really like to stress very strongly to any of the candidates that would like to be on the board, is that we as a community, we as directors are spending everyone's money. And we're responsible for that, and we need to do that responsibly. And that is something that is very, very dear to my heart. And we have had many, what do I want to say? Discussions about it. So I just would like that to be something that we try and keep.
Your son, my son. Thank you, candidate 4.
Thank you, everybody, for that. Now we're gonna open it up to the floor. Is there anybody here present that wants to answer any questions of the candidates? Do I need to submit this?
No, but if you don't mind, can you come up here? Otherwise, recording will not grab you.
Yes, I think this is Michael. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you communicate, or how does you project with the board to communicate with the CDD?
With the CDD, well, actually, you're standing next to the person who has the lead for that. So Patty, as our professional manager, attends the CDD meetings. I have attended quite a few myself, when I'm in town. They are the first Thursday of every month. I encourage anybody in the community to go to them. They're open. They're here at 10 o'clock in the morning, right in this facility. It's the first Thursday, correct? Did I get that right? So for the board to communicate, we would take the lead for the camp. When I attend, we both are there. She has the lead for the community. She's the professional manager. But when we can't, I know that Kathy has covered some of the meetings too. I think it's important that we do attend, because we are operating in the same space, so to speak. And there are things we can cooperate with, which we do it. We share roles in different things. So there's overlap, but not as much as perhaps. And they are a different charter. They are a governmental agency, per se, and we are a not-for-profit corporation, right? Not for profit, not for profit, not a nonprofit.
Members organization, not.
Yeah, so that answer your question, ma'am, that the board has that communication, funnels through them, anybody's welcome to attend. And I encourage members in the community, anybody online, to attend the meetings if you have an issue.
And then just one other quick question, this is to Kevin. How would you go about finding out what the people in the community want?
What the people in the
What
community,
they want?
what they want. Well, I think that's a conversation. I think social media is a great way to have that conversation. As long as it's respectful, right? So it should be respectful both ways. And so as long as we can have a great dialogue, we can come to some agreement and compromise. And if there is issues, they need to be brought forward. And they should be brought forward in a safe space where people can voice their opinion, but again, respectfully. As long as it's done that way, we should listen to everybody, take it for what it is, and have a discussion amongst ourselves. To Mark's point, they're never going to be able to make everybody happy. There's always going to be a few people who are unhappy. But in my profession, so I'm a salesperson, so I'm always finding the compromise in the middle between the people over here and the people over there. And so if we can find that compromise and listen to what they have to say, listen to what the board has to say, and explain to them, yes, we can do this, no, we can't do this, this is the reason why. I think whenever you can give that kind of information respectfully, people will have an understanding. It might not be the answer you want, but it'll be the truth and the answer that we have. Right? You're welcome.
Yeah. Bill Walsh, the community itself has many different parts. Right, you have Encore, you have a lot of community, you have new people moving in, new subsystems starting to develop. And the ability to, and having been at your budget meeting last year or the year before, it got quite contentious because there were the final when you were going through. Because a lot of people didn't know the steps that were made to get to the point where you were. So my question really is, how do you reach out to get them involved along the way by either having ambassadors, kind of like being liaisons or whatever? The second part of my question is, in terms of the kids and the youth, you have an active community that's growing. You have students that I think run the spectrum in terms of their involvement. To get them involved in understanding this process could be beneficial to have them be your ambassadors, you know, and moving forward. So just a thought, you can run around whoever wants to pick up the question. Number one, reaching out to the different components to get feedback. Social media is okay, but not everybody does it.
Right. No, I understand that, but
No, it's not pointing at you.
Oh,
okay. I'm just, you have to be there. And the second part of it would be, how do you get the kids involved, or maybe take the steps to invite them to be part of this governmental process? You know, because in the high schools, they're required to do that anyway, community service and a lot of other things. This might be a good way to kind of alleviate some of the conditions that might, you know, happen if the kids are involved and they understand the process and so just, I'm throwing it out there, anyone can pick it up if you want, we could, see how you think.
I can answer that a little bit. I think we do need to be widen our approach. We can't rely on just one source of getting information. It can't just be social media or just email or just meetings. Everybody has a different way of approaching it, so we need to be responsive to where we get access to people and how they respond to us and pay attention to that. I love the idea of community ambassadors. I would love to find ways to encourage people to come to the meetings and take an active part. I feel like part of the reason I'm here is, and part of the reason I haven't attended a whole lot of meetings, is I feel like the community members feel we don't have a voice right now. We aren't listened to. A lot of the commentary gets closed out of the meeting. We're not going to deal with that now, go away. I think that's inappropriate. So I'd open that up a lot more. Take the time to listen to the community members and get their feedback. I love the idea of getting kids involved. I love that our community has kids running all over the place, playing baseball, riding bikes, all that, and I think it's great. I've been on both iterations of the finance committee. Thankfully, we've never been used. But I know there are people who have violations pending and they're worried about fines, worried about getting compliance. Why not get kids involved there? We could have kids come and understand the process. But then also maybe the kids want to be the ones that go mow the lawn or pull the weeds, and maybe instead of paying a fine to the community, the homeowner can pay a fine to some kids to go pull some weeds for them, or they could be volunteer hours toward their 401k future scholarship, something like that. Lots of opportunities there, I think.
Yeah, I appreciate all the comments about how multiple approaches, and one of the things we are in the process of developing is a community newsletter. And developing a format that will go out over multiple, posted here, be on the website. It's, those that are receiving mail, it will go out in the mail. So we're in the final design phase of that. And then that will also be a way of touching the budget. There are sections of the president's comments, it's a security thing. Because I think in some ways, many of the things that happen in the community don't get out there very much. You post the clowns and everybody watches it, but I can personally attest that Mark and Tommy have been out at that pool in the middle of the night dealing with people there inappropriately many times. And it's just that they do it because they have a sense of service, but it's not widely known how much goes on around these areas. So I think that newsletter will be another way of helping on a positive note, but also passing out the words that things are maybe not quite as calm as people might think they are. But Bill, I don't know if that helps you answer your question.
I'd like to add that too. Go ahead, John.
Well, I think that one of the things that the past board began to work on is already in our documents. Concept of neighborhoods, breaking the community down into smaller groups and having representatives from each one of the neighborhoods. We didn't quite get it across the finish line, but it's one of the things that I would like to think that we would finish, because it breaks, one of the issues is when you take on all 1,300 of us at one time, that's a hard thing to do. But if you're dealing with your next door neighbor and you come to some consensus and your representative is showing up for the meetings for the neighborhood, then that helps you to get more information out, gets people more involved in the community. And I think that's really what we're missing is a hook to get people to come to our meetings, to tell us what they're doing instead of telling somebody that doesn't know everything to do. So I think that one of the biggest things we have going forward, because of the size of our community and how it's sort of spread out in some ways, is this neighborhood concept that's already part of our documents, just needs to be turned on.
Yeah, John touched on the delegate issues, so I won't harbor on that. But I do want to talk about getting the children involved. And I think there's some great opportunities here within our own community. The first thing that comes to mind is, I don't know if anybody's seen the lake house on Monday nights, but the parking lot is packed. And that is just an organic kind of grassroots movement, a chess club that someone in our community said, I'm going to start a chess club. And it wasn't HOA related, but they use the HOA facilities because that's what it's here for. And when you come in here for chess club, it's almost entirely children, which I think is fantastic. I had no idea there was that much interest in today's youth in chess. It's wonderful. Another way, like you said, volunteer work, the Summerfest, last year, a few months ago, which my wife organized, and then again, the Fall Fest, which is coming up, which if anybody doesn't know, shameless plug, this weekend, Fall Fest at the pool, chili cook-off, walk around, climbing wall, DJ and food trucks and all that. But these events that we do are great opportunities. Again, we had over a dozen kids come out and volunteer their efforts for cleanup after Summerfest, and they all got credit for it, and it all went to the scholarships like you're talking about. So there are definitely opportunities to get the youth in our neighborhood involved.
And those kids did a great job, 'cause
Oh, yeah.
after Summerfest, it was like nothing was ever there. It was really, they did a great job, so kudos to those kids.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think, you know, kind of, yeah. Sure. Yeah. But when you said that, it was actually one of the things that I had sort of on my list of goals, like if we have a community, I have 2 teenage boys. And I think, you know, as April mentioned earlier, you have that sense of community that I think many of us had experienced, and it's just kind of dissipated after COVID. And we sort of lost that sense of connection. And there's a real opportunity, I think, to get our kids involved, just doing community cleanup days, or, you know, having little events, things of that nature, so they can get volunteer hours. It's, you know, it's a win-win all the way around. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to do those types of things in the neighborhood. And, you know, our kids are, you know, part of the wear and tear, you know, so I think it's important to, you know, show them that it's important to, you know, have that civic service and get involved as well, so that it starts to develop some pride for them, and teach them some, you know, core values about, you know, taking care of the place where they live.
So not only are the children, but I'd also like to see Encore being more involved. I feel like Encore is sitting over here saying, okay, I don't have, you know, I don't use our swimming pool, I don't play ping pong or whatever, but I would like to see more. We can get more activities and try and get Encore as a community more involved. And I know that we've talked about the movie nights and maybe, you know, doing the, you know, black and white type movies to get the older people, you know, people involved. And I say that as a senior citizen myself, thank you. I too could live over there. But I'd like them, rather than say, okay, we have to pay their master dues and whatever, but we're not getting a benefit. Let's get them also involved, and how can they be part of our Fishhawk West community rather than segregate it?
My parents live in Encore, and the amount of amenities and things that they do every month, like they do trips everywhere. They it's crazy. It's amazing. I want to live there. Right? But to your point, what would you in Encore want that we could do that you would come to? Because that's the big thing. You have so many options. You have poker night, you have, I mean, the list is endless in your little Oasis club there. It's amazing. So what is it that we would do in this community that would get you out of your gated community into our community, which you share together with us? What do you, I'm willing to listen.
I guess it's kind of like a point in time, that's right.
Yeah.
No, I think, and John certainly, you know, represents Encore on both boards, on this board and on the other board. But you just hit it with the gated community. It's not really a gated community, it's we're one community.
Right.
You know, Fishhawk West and who's on it. Right? I think it's just a matter of, like we said before, communicating back and forth, getting, you know, commonalities you can get between it. The presidents of both boards, perhaps maybe even meeting every so often, maybe both boards, just to get to know each other and feel things out. You know, I think the word really is, if you've been asked, you know, one word, you took about 5 words, Sean, right? But describing it right before, that was really good. That was a good process, right? But demystifying, I think, is a key word. Because most of the social media and stuff, people understand the process.
Yeah, my parents are 76 and 82. They have no social.
Not
media.
just an output.
Right.
You know, and I think, you know, someone has a preconception or something. And then comes you saying, well, they don't really care about it. Well, question is, they always folks say, you know, he who determines, or he who or she who determines the color of the house is the person holding the paintbrush. And you guys are holding the paintbrushes because you're doing the work, you know? So I think that it's a matter of getting more involved in the process as you move along. But as far as I'm concerned, you're absolutely right. I think, you know, we need discussions, we've done a John had discussions and others certainly contribute to that. So, and I think reaching out, but looking at it as one full community, I think would be a mantra or and all of you basically said it in all of your individual comments. And which is the strength of whoever gets elected to the board. I think it's gonna be a terrific, you know, year ahead as far as that's concerned. So that's it, but just to answer your comment.
But is there something that would be interesting to the Encore community, or is that something they could come back to the board? Right, but to the point of ambassadors, that would be a great thing for an Encore ambassador to come back to the board with.
Plant a seed, grow a tree, you know?
Not rush things along, but we're over the 2-minute mark.
Sorry.
This time, really has something.
Yes.
No, sorry, well, I mean, hearing everybody out, I wanted to make sure I wasn't just repeating what everybody else said, but when it comes to the kids in our neighborhood, I think we're seeing it in the old Fish Hawk. I call it the bowels of Fish Hawk, because you gotta get way down in there to get to the original Fish Hawk. But we have a lot of teenagers who don't have the outlets that they need to, I think, be productive, but also entertain themselves in a way that the older folks who have to pay these dues, right, would prefer them act, right? And I think it would be really good to get their voice in our community. They may not pay dues, but they are sometimes the people who are using the amenities, maybe in ways we don't like. Well, if we got their voice and we found out what it is they need, or how we could better address some of their concerns, or open up amenities to them in ways that we may not have thought of as adults, then we do grow a stronger community that way. So that's the only thing I haven't heard said already was, it's not just about getting the money, right? So we don't have to pay fines or let them get their volunteer hours. It'd be nice if we not only have ambassadors from the different communities, but we have an engaged group of young adults, right? Not just to teach them how we do business and show them how they need to, you know, be adults, but to learn what they need and give them a voice in their community so they'll respect it more. So that they'll have a place where they feel like they can go and do things we want them to do, right? Maybe not the things that we think they shouldn't be doing, or we'll better understand what it is they want to do. And when we think they're doing things we don't want them or shouldn't be doing, maybe we'll better understand what it is and why they need to do those things. So probably a little bit more convoluted than you would have hoped for, but I do want to see them engaged in a very different way than I think anybody else has kind of mentioned here. Not that I have teenagers yet, but I will soon enough. And I think it's important to understand them and their developmental needs. That trust club is a great idea. You know, if Encore, there's an untapped potential here. There's a lot of kids in this neighborhood. There's a lot of parents that we need each other, right? There's plenty of kids who need tutors, that need someone besides their mom over their shoulder, helping them with math, because they don't want to listen to me, right? But they might listen to someone who has time, right? We don't know those things because we're not asking some of those questions at that level. I mean, my point. Thanks, everybody.
Any additional questions on the call?
I have
What?
one.
For?
I'm trying to make it quick. I'm gonna try to make it quick.
Yeah, April said you had 33.
This will be quick, the more, my opinion is more honest you are. I've asked this in the past board and probably every committee member. Everyone gets up in the morning to do something. Anyone on Zoom now, myself, Dave, Jason, we're all here, we're doing a service, we're paying attention, we're listening, and we have an agenda. Our agenda is to vote. So I'm gonna ask everyone here today, we're all here to serve. Please don't tell me we're here to serve, we're all serving. What is your individual agenda for being a director on the board of 2024? We all have one, at least one.
We got all candidates.
We have one, all in Johnson.
Okay. Want to start with John?
Well, I believe that my personal involvement, helps to make the community better. So, I've done this all my life. Kiwanis, I did a number of years for that. As, believe it or not, my whole job is community service for individuals one at a time. So that's what I do this for, is because I want to be a part of what's going on here, what contributes.
Safe to say your agenda is.
Wait,
Improvement. Not a question. If you're really involved.
He's summarizing.
So,
Just the way I say it, sir, but that's okay.
My main point of my agenda is to be involved.
thank you.
I think I alluded to it in the answer I provided a little while ago, but really just to bring back, a sense of community, connection. To be able to have the community be maintained at a level that it has been, and to be a nice community to live in when, your friends or your family come in, they're like, wow, this is a really nice place. I want to keep it that way, I want us all to have a place that we're feeling comfortable in, and have a place that we can connect and build strong relationships.
Tommy and everybody else, I'm gonna be a little more specific in my goals for next year and the year after. So I have some short-term goals, and then I have slightly longer-term goals. But I guess the main theme is to see things through. There is a plan. This community has a long-term plan that extends out 25 years. And in the short-term plan this year is the thing that I want to see more than anything else is our pool elevated to the status and level that we expect in this kind of community. It needs to be resurfaced. The pool splash pad area needs to be completely redone. And thanks to the efforts of our finance committee, we have the funds to do that. It's been planned and budgeted for and funded. From the administrative side, for the administrative side, I want to see through with the delegates plan. As John alluded to, this gives everybody a voice. It gives an assigned person that will come to meetings, carry the water for their 50 to 100 homes and say, this is what my group of people are concerned about. And I've wanted to see delegates through for since before I got on board. And I think we're now just getting to the point where we can actually do this. There's some work has been done to divide up the neighborhood. To some houses were not included in neighborhoods, so the map has been redrawn. And we are finally at a phase, I think next year we can accomplish that goal. So those are my two big goals for next year, specifically speaking.
I think I said it before, coming from Chicago, this doesn't exist anywhere else. And so to me, this is precious. And for my family, selfishly, I want it to continue to be great, if not better. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make that a reality for my family and for all the other families, because again, having lived other places in my life, this is a very rare and special place for me.
For me, I think it's more, being more involved, with neighbors that I have, friends that I've made just in my direct neighborhood. Whenever I talk to them on certain things, they're on the same page as myself. But they also contribute, but they don't want to necessarily like get on Facebook and comment or reply to an email. I'm trying to encourage people to speak up a little bit, and I can help take some of those concerns, at least from my small section over in Sandpiper Crest, and bring it to the table, because they may not voice that, they might just complain. So I think just to add to what's already been done and established within this HOA, because it's probably the better of not best HOAs that I've lived in. And I've lived in 3 different ones in Tennessee. So compliments to the previous folks who've helped start and get before it is. I'm not saying there's a lot that needs to be changed, but I think small change does help move this community forward.
Well, I'm here to serve, but really to balance requirements with funding. And it's been talked about, and I agree, we have to maintain the facilities. Because as soon as they start to fall apart, then people don't respect it, right? Well, they don't, if you don't respect, if you don't maintain the community, then people in the community say, well, if the board doesn't take care of this, then why should I have to respect it? So I think it's a circle, but I really do agree, and I absolutely concur. We are in a much better situation than we were 18 months ago, significantly better. And that doesn't mean we're flush with cash. We just have some extra that we can then get going and doing that. So, so that's what I think. Balance requirements, but make the improvements.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
I think for me, it's communication. Making sure that people understand the board and the board understand people, right? When there's a disconnect there, we see, I think, some of the problems we've been seeing within our community. And it's huge, right? Just trying to get a quorum is almost, we don't even have a facility to fit all of us, except for a field. And even that would be kind of tight, I think, right now. But, so finding ways to communicate so we can all be on the same page. I think some of our disconnects are just not understanding one another, not being on the same page. So if I can find a way to help us communicate, reach people, then the goal have been met.
My agenda, like Mark, I would like to, we started 18 months ago with the idea of where we wanted to go, where we wanted to see. We wanted to be self-managed. We wanted to get out of debt. And we had plans on what we wanted to improve around our community and get our community going. And I would like to be able to continue that for the next 2 years and build upon that.
Thank you.
All right, I'll say thanks. I didn't get the random question to answer this, so I'll answer it now. I've got some clear priorities, security, physical security. We've had some theft and vandalism. We've had the cons at the pool. The board convened a security committee. Industry experts, they asked their opinion, they listened to their opinion, then they disregarded it and did a completely opposite plan and spent a lot of money on it. I think that's inappropriate. If we're gonna ask experts to weigh in, let's trust their advice and do something that'll be effective. Money is important, the budget, adhering to it, making sure you have a balanced budget at all times. I understand there's some delinquent dues, some homeowners with delinquent dues. We need to track that down. Maintenance, we need to make sure our common areas look great. The pool's been mentioned, that needs to be hit. I've heard some feedback about standards discrepancies from community members online. So let's address that. I think it's good to make sure that everybody's adhering to the standards they agreed to when they bought a house in this neighborhood instead of one right across the street that still gets to go to our schools. So we need to uphold those standards. But I don't want some full-time employee getting paid to go door to door and look for problems. That's not a good neighborhood to live in. I don't want to live in that kind of a neighborhood. And then most importantly, just the board that listens to the residents. Everybody needs to feel that they have a voice, that they're heard, that if they have a concern, that somebody on the board is going to take the time to listen to them and understand what their needs are. And then work with everyone, work all together to find a solution that's mutually beneficial. Those are my priorities.
Thank you.
No comments or questions from board, from the audience?
I'm really not. Our board meetings are a little different, of course, it's for different age groups, but we talk a lot more about financial responsibilities. And last year, your budget, your students went up to 5.5%. And I know the people that live in the villas, they were extremely, very, very excited about this. Luckily, I think most people went on board with handle, but 55% is a lot of interest. And I've not heard any of you say fiscal responsibility. I mean, all these things are wonderful. You have a wonderful community. I'm sure that all of the younger people have good community with their children and with them. But we can have all these things, but yet we still have to be able to control how we spend our money, and exactly, we can't get everything in the moment we want it. And I don't know about this board financially, but I mean, Encore has a very large endowment, or not endowment, but a big budget big reserves, and that is the secret. And I've not heard one person mention the reserves in this meeting. That is the most important thing that you can do, just like at a savings account at home. And you have an emergency fund, but you have another savings account. Or portfolio or whatever, you just got to spend, you cannot spend it one money you've got. And people have to understand that. So, and I'm not really about that this day, although it is a candidate thing. But it is important for everyone to understand that reserves are very important, and that should be one of the main aims of this board is to get more and more reserves each and every year. You can't spend all the money. You know, all these things are wonderful to do. We all want to do the pool, we want beautiful landscapes, but we still have to worry about having reserves. So that if a hurricane comes through or something, we are prepared. So I would like, you know, and that's not really, I'm not for that in this discussion. I've heard a lot of good ideas, but not that.
Ma'am, I would like to object.
Okay.
This is a tough question, and I'm waiting for the hardball questions. So yeah, thank you for bringing this issue up. The issue of reserves, and a lot of people misunderstand the idea of what a reserve is. It is not a savings account that you put money into for hard times. It is that 25-year plan that I mentioned, where you have to pay a company to come in, and this board did that, and it costs some money. They come in and they inventory every single item you have, determine its life cycle, and you probably know this. And they determine how long it takes, they determine when it's gonna have to be replaced, and then how much you need to save every single year in order to do that. Prior to that reserve study, this HOA was not doing that properly. And that is why you had to see a large increase, one of the reasons. And yep, and this year, you will notice when budgets come out, that because of the hard work, because of the hard decisions that had to be made, and the question earlier was, are you comfortable making hard decisions? And Jason answered it really well. Hard decisions are not comfortable to make. There's never a, well, this is what we have to do, and that was a hard decision, was upping the dues, and some people really put them in a hard spot. And I stayed up very late at night, many nights, with heartache for those people, seeing them, their complaints online and hearing them at the meetings. It really bothered me. But those are the hard decisions that we had to make, or else we would have went bankrupt. This year, you won't see that. This year, the master will go up a few dollars, $3, $4, $5, depending. Some service areas are going to actually see a reduction. And so due to the hard work of the treasurer and the finance committee and Tommy, our former president, and other members of the board, we fixed it. And hopefully that will never happen again in this community for decades to come.
Can I add one thing on that?
Yes, sir.
It's absolutely correct. I mean, that's what the hard work was about, was figuring that out. It's also important to note, though, is even from a professional engineering recommendation, things don't age at the same time. They don't last as long. Insurance requirements on roofs are changing, so it's not a fixed target either. And so we're finding we had to replace things much sooner than we were anticipating. So that becomes a challenge of how do you balance, cash flow with requirements, and so it's an ongoing issue. It's something that comes up on it at every meeting. And so I think it was implied here, but I appreciate you bringing that up, because reserves are what we talk about all the time. And reserves help upgrade the fitness equipment, because they didn't buy professional equipment, they bought decent equipment. Then we bought better equipment, which hopefully will last the length of time. That's the kind of problem and challenge that we're facing. So we had to balance current funding with some of the reserves to get some things fixed.
So, I've been on finance committee, I've been involved in the HOA directly or tangentially for the past three or so years. The problem that we have is getting the community involved, right? We talk about people getting to budget workshops, but nobody comes, it's the same people. I'm here all the time, you know? And how do you, as candidates, plan on getting people more involved? Every board's talked about it, every candidate's talked about it, and nothing has changed. How are you gonna fix it? What's your plan to fix it?
Anybody else want to?
Good. I think, I mean, as new to the community, newish, it's more about, I think, being more personable and not coming across as like a business perspective, right? Some people you can't talk to in a certain way, so you have to find that common ground on how the communication works and what that involves. So like, for instance, a lot of people aren't gonna read every single meeting detail. Well, that's not the board's fault. We do that for a reason, right? I'll go over things. And if they don't understand, it's better to break it down for them and simplify what's being decided on, or what's being discussed, or what's being proposed. Because I'm not just in my section, but if I go to the pool area, or if I see someone in a grocery store, the chat can go on for a while. And so I think a lot of it, I can't say a lot of it, but I think a good deal is just being not too complicated with certain things. Not everybody is a finance person, not everybody is a CFO, anything like that. Myself, I'm not, I work for one of the largest consulting firms in the world, but I'm in a different branch, so I have to make sure I pay attention and just try to understand the basis of what everything is trying to come.
But I think your delegates are also an answer, because it would be the delegates who could go into their little neighborhoods and speak to those smaller groups and get those smaller groups involved and get that information out to them so that they could understand and ask and hear the questions that the neighborhoods have and bring them back to the board so that the questions could be answered. And I think then you would have more interaction. And I know that we're working towards getting the delegates system, if we want to say that, in place. And I think that would work as a way of getting information out there and getting the participation that's needed.
I think Max said, that they're gonna do a letter too that'll get mailed out to everyone. So I think, we talked about social media, but we also talked that there's people who don't do social media. So if that goes out monthly, you're able to give smaller, maybe digestible chunks of information that can go into a little bit more detail, or that less detail can be maybe put into a common language if it's financial stuff. I'm not a financial genius, but I pay my bills. But again, if you put it into that along with the delegates, it's not one answer. It's a whole bunch of answers. And I don't think it's a simple answer. It's a complex problem because we have 1,400 homes in here. So there's a lot of different ways that a lot of different people communicate. And to try to get everybody, it's going to be really difficult. But I think if you do delegates, I think that's a brilliant idea. I think sending out a newsletter is a brilliant idea. I think, again, the social media, Mark sending the clowns out, I think is kind of funny that a lot of people got involved in that. So there's not a simple answer. If there was a simple answer, we would have already done it. Right? You guys would have already done it, but it's not, it's a complex one. So
I'm just an observer, I've been here for it, but
right.
It needs to be sold, like people, you need to generate interest in people actually. You need 19, there's 19 neighborhoods, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need to get 19 people plus another 19 as alternates. So
Right.
you need 38 people.
Right.
You're gonna have to sell that to the community for somebody to take a few hours out of their day.
Right.
Come to a board meeting to listen, then get back to the community. There's flaws with how the charter, but that's a different discussion for a different time.
That's good.
How do you, and that's the problem, you're a sales guy.
Right.
How do you sell it?
Well, I think involvement, again, there's a lot of different things that you do. You gotta make it fun, right? If I said, if we're not having fun, there's no point in doing this, right? So how do we make that fun? right? So maybe those 38 people, we host a cocktail hour. Why not? We have a nice kitchen space, we have some money in the budget, you know, everybody make a cocktail. It's a mixture to get to know each other, right? Because we have to get to know each other. I don't know, I'm in the Oaks, I don't know a lot of the people in the front, and I'm sure they don't know a lot of the people in the back. So until we get everybody together so that we can kind of all talk and mix and mingle and get to know each other, that's when you're gonna get a free flow of ideas, because they're gonna come back and they'll be like, you know what, that Mark guy wasn't such a bad guy. And so they're gonna go back to their neighborhood and say, hey, you know what, Mark had a good idea about this, or what do you guys think about that? That's how we do it. So my first thing, yeah, I think, you know what, have a cocktail party for the people who wanna come and do that. Why not? I do it in business all the time, right? You loosen up, you have a good time, you get to know each other, you kind of mingle, you have different thoughts and ideas are interchanged. There's one idea. There's a whole bunch of others, and I'm open to any suggestion. But again, that's one way to do it. A pizza party. People don't want to drink, have some pizza. Everybody's here. It's what? 7:46. Not everybody in here has had dinner, let me tell you. So there's a few people that are getting a little bit hungry and nobody wants to get angry. So come here, have some pizza, get a charcuterie board. Publix is right there. It's really easy to get some pub sub sandwiches, sit down and get to know each other. Until we get to know each other, we can't work together.
I think the airport set me up for that really well. I started as a bomber pilot, and you might go out and fly high altitude and support these ground forces over here, but you never meet them, you never see them again, you just fly up and go somewhere else. Then I got assigned to work in special operations. It's completely different. We supported specific forces all the time. We lived at their bases when we were deployed. We ate in their chow hall, we worked out in their gym, and we briefed with them before we went flew and then debriefed when we got back. And it was the same people over and over, so you establish those relationships. I'm comfortable with showing up and owning up for my successes and mistakes, and you're gonna be told, good job, which is really fulfilling, or you get a finger poked in your chest and say, you screwed that up, and okay, I'm sorry for that, let's do better. It takes putting yourself out there and going out and meeting people on an individual basis and seeking out the individuals who wanna get feedback, wanna take part. Whether it's somebody on social media who just has a voice or is complaining, whatever, or sends an email or makes a phone call, whatever, those are the people to start with. Go to those people and not just in a comment on social media, call them up and say, hey, can I meet you? Can we meet at Lake House, meet lunch, meet your house, whatever, and go out and take the time to meet individuals. I feel like most of the division, we end up with our neighborhood, our country, wherever. If you could just sit down and have a chat, you're gonna find common ground. And you're gonna find there's no reason to be angry with each other, and you're gonna find a solution to whatever's going on. I think that's really good.
So, there's been a lot of talk about bringing people together, which I'm all for, but I think part of the board's responsibility moving forward, we know we have delegates, but it's gonna be hard to kind of get that drumbeat going if the board itself doesn't go to each of those individual communities and plan a stop, right? Like, and sit down and meet people and explain, hey, you're this part of this community, right? And this is what we're trying to do. I think instead of having people like, come to the meeting, come here, come to what we want to do, we're gonna have to meet them on their turf. I don't know that everybody's been to every one of the 19 different communities. Well, they're different, I mean, you can call it what you want, but the point is we as a board are gonna have to go out there to start the communication that, hey, this is what we're trying to do, this is what we want to accomplish, right? It's impossible to get us all in one field, so we're gonna have to get more comfortable going out and meeting them at their location. And it may be the delegates at some point, but at first it's gonna have to be the board. They're gonna have to know us in that way, before they're gonna start to feel comfortable with us. And I think meeting them on their grounds in their part of the neighborhood, whatever term you wanna use, I'm sure I'll learn the right terms soon. I'll be skilled in all said political HOA events and jargon, but we've got to get to their place, see what their perspective is, introduce ourselves. They're not going to be necessarily on Zoom, and on Zoom it's really hard to get a sense of somebody than if they come to see you in your place face to face. So let's have little cocktail parties, let's have little pizza parties, but let's not do it in one location. Let's go out to where they are. Let's get the drum beats going first, and that will, I think, get us where we need to be, right? As a board that's out there amongst their people and not expecting everybody to come meet them where they are.
Yeah, I was gonna say something kind of similar to what April said, you know, we have these little park areas in all of, all over the community. It would be great to just do a little cookout or have a little, we used to have, when we first moved in, we had these driveway parties, and somebody would host it and everybody would come and it would be a great place. It didn't cost anything. Everybody's BYOB, you bring what you want and have people come, but I think the more we get people together, I think even for social media, I know so many people in the community, they don't even pay attention to it anymore because it's just like heartbreaking because it's very negative and people are not acting like humans sometimes, the way that they're treating each other. And so the community has just disengaged because of that. And I think we've got to get out to people and bring people together. Because once you engage them, that's when they'll show up, when they care and they feel like they're being heard, they feel like they matter, that engagement is the first step and it takes reaching out to do it.
I love everything, and particularly like the hosting, maybe you can get like volunteer hosts to host that, rent a board member. No, but I think it's really a good idea. No, I think it's a really good idea. But I have to caution, this is maybe my professional background. I want to moderate expectations. Because I was on the board for 5 years in Colorado, totally different place, and here. And it's just always a small percentage. It's a small percentage of people that will spend the effort and time. So you have to respect the group that's willing to do it, even the people that come and wait out our talk. But I have to say, you just have to moderate our expectation and manage it with the numbers that you have. And that may enter into the delegate issue. That may be a limitation or challenge that we have to be aware of. I'm not against it, but it's a challenge. So but I love the, rent a member. But you can have, somebody can host it, or like you said, in the park, you can put up a tent. And that neighborhood can just say, we're gonna host a little barbecue and, we make an effort to go to it. That's a great idea.
Or that's kind of,
Yeah.
there's ways to get community involved, it's difficult, but, going with Max saying, and this is me making a comment to the audience here, is that 22 years now on boards, and I've been in many communities, and I've tried all different kinds of things, and there's always going to be a handful that really love what you do. The majority of them. And so don't get strange expectations. The thing is that if you get 2 people, just 1% of the people that come that did before, that's a win. So look at it that way. If you get it to the 2% out, I got it, love it, it'd be great. But that's reality.
We have a lot of really busy families in this community.
It's only be small. So the board needs to delegates in place. How are you gonna handle it if the membership says, no, we don't want you to do that, because they will have that power. In certain situations, the membership delegates, I even talk about 19 of it, depending on what we're going on, 8 or 9 of it, constitute the 51% vote. They can say, no, we don't want to do that. How does the board then handle it? Because that is being checked.
Ultimately, you can't dictate anything to the community. I mean, you're gonna have to expect that you're gonna try something, you're gonna offer it out there, you're gonna have to hear feedback. There may be people out there who say the delegated idea is great and all, but this might work better, and be willing to flex as needed, but it never hurts to try. And if your open intent is to improve communication, and people get that sense that even if the delegate thing doesn't work out long-term, people see that you're trying to reach them and trying to hear what they want to say, right? We have a lot of busy folks out here. We have folks who, this may not be their priority, as long as, as long as the neighborhood's not burning down around me, I'm good. Keep my head down, go to my job, feed my children, go to bed, and try to wake up the next day and do it again. And that's okay. But if we're trying to get out there, we cannot mandate to anybody to show up, right? This is not a dictatorship. If they don't show, they don't show. The intent is the board wants to hear you. We're going to give you the opportunity to send somebody. We're going to give you the opportunity to have someone have a voice for you. If that doesn't work for you and you want to be here instead, knock yourself out. If you want to send with your delegate, awesome. We're happy to hear what your delegate has to say. if your neighborhood doesn't want to send anybody, hey, we'll still give you the information that we have from this board, and we hope that you're being spoken for by other people, because we're still one big community, you know, but it's not a, you know, you take it or leave it. It's a, we'll take what we can get. It's a better possible option, and damn, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, we haven't lost anything.
Just clarify what you were saying, though, the delegates do have power to veto certain things for the board, it's actually a voting entity. So it's, I would recommend all of you read about that in your charter, because it is something that is required for us to do at some point. It's not just people representing things, if they actually get to vote.
If they choose not to, is my point, though.
And there's.
In the end, you can put all kinds of things in the bylaws and any charters that you want. But if people don't respond to it, you're going to have to change and adjust. So we have to be open to that.
But unfortunately, it requires the delegates to make the change, not anything else.
We don't even have them yet, so how can you tell me we can't change it?
I'm not trying to argue, I'm just trying to point something out. If to change anything in our rules, it requires the 70% vote from the populace or the delegates.
And I think that's gonna be tough to do without
Absolutely,
delegates.
that's the whole point. That's
And
what-
so if it doesn't work, we're gonna have to adjust. Delegates didn't exist before, and somehow we made changes.
No,
So, no, we did, there's already been changes to different architectural guidelines.
Well,
There's-
policies can change,
there's-
the other documents.
There's other things that are changing, like,
So,
you're acting like this is the be all end all, and somehow we're gonna end up, oh, if we don't follow this, man, it's all gonna burn down around us, and we can't do anything, like,
not at all, I'm just trying to clarify that, the important to read about it, if we did.
yes, absolutely, but in the end, you're gonna have to learn to adjust. If people don't show up and it doesn't work with folks, we're gonna have to adjust.
And-
Right? You can't never not change, well, we never got delegates, so now we can never change it. We're just sitting here every day hoping that eventually a delegate shows up. That won't happen.
So I learned something, just to add, this was just created from Bert a long time ago. And at the time, we all laughed about it. And then after looking into it and realizing it, I realized how true it was. Almost all board members go in by appointment. We go out and apply. That's how that happens, because of exactly what you're trying to overcome here in this short period of time is change under HOA charter in chapter 720 is damn near impossible. There is no adjusting to it. So there are things to put in place like delegacy, and that's why Sean's saying it. You all are great, all your ideas are fantastic people, I understand what you're saying. There is a little green in this room, there's a lot of reading to be done, there are some things you need to learn first, but the enthusiasms.
Yeah.
Right.
And Tommy, I think that the most important thing to take away here is that a lot of great ideas require a lot of manpower, and I think that everyone who's sitting here has the energy and the hours to put into it. Because if they didn't have those 20 hours a week, like I was saying, to put into this board, they wouldn't be sitting in these chairs. And these are all technical things to discuss at a later time, but how do we get it done, the widgets, right? But let's start with the good ideas. Let's put all the ideas on sticky notes, put them on the wall. Doesn't matter how crazy you think your idea is. It's a good idea, put it on the wall, and then we go from there.
That's
And
exactly right, we're open all see those things.
and I'd be shocked if any of this didn't come up with unexpected challenges, right? And if we try to change something, there will be unintended consequences. Okay, fine. So let's adapt to the system, let's understand what's going on, let's communicate with people, and let's exercise some leadership. And so if delegates not turning up, that's the board being leaders and going to the community and engaging with them. Whether it's directly with the community members, the delegates, wherever we have to, that's our job, so we'll do that.
Okay, I think that wraps everything up, but I'm glad I had the feedback.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.
I want to go around this. That's good.